Alright, so what makes a sport truck a sport truck? First and foremost, and quite obviously, the decal. On the exterior, you get the decal on the sides and a decal on the hood, about right here. Same reflective material as the side sticker. It's a bright reflective. At night you can see most of, some of the reflection material still there. They fade away as with any kind of reflective material, so at least with mine the whole thing doesn't light up at night when you shine light at it. But originally they were nice and bright and reflective, pretty cool looking in the advertisements because they show that in the magazine spread. So yeah, the hood decal is the same material. Somebody made this and gave it to me because even on my other hood, the original hood to the truck, it was missing because somebody resprayed my truck at some point. But I knew I was going to hang on to it till I got a carbon fiber hood. I spent quite a long time looking for that hood, so once I finally found it, I was able to put that sticker on it. Really helped the look of the truck because that's how it's supposed to look. I think the sticker is supposed to be a little bit further over, but they're all a little different, and that's the biggest thing to take note with the sport trucks is the dealers were kind of sent the trucks, and then it was up to them to get the decals put on and all that good stuff. So no two trucks are the same. So if you ever have two next to each other, you'll see they're not all the same. Well, for example, on the front of the door here, you can see they cut the edges back before the edge of the door. Whereas in the back of the door, the decal wraps around. And every truck might be a little different. You can see at the back of the decal here how thin the pinstripe is around the edge. And then towards the front here, it's a bit thicker. So in short, the whole build process, well, quote-unquote build process of the sport trucks is very inconsistent. Small differences, nothing too crazy, in terms of the decal. Now, in terms of the options on the truck, the sport truck was kind of an add-on trim package. So some sport trucks got vent windows, some trucks got slider back windows. Mine had a solid. I know someone else who has a solid, whereas most of them you see tend to have a slider. But the point I'm trying to make is these were built all sorts of different ways, and then there was no preset build for these when it comes to options not related to what the sport truck gives you. Also for the exterior, which I don't have on the truck at the moment, is they are supposed to have a one-piece large duckbill up front. I have a two-piece. Good luck finding a single piece. You don't see them almost ever. I know of 3 at the moment, 2 of which are owned by the same person because they get ripped off. I ripped off my 2-piece duckbill in a parking lot. They are supposed to have a large single-piece duckbill. Looks the same. Don't quote me on all this. Don't hold me to all of this. This is just what I've been told, or from what I remember I was told. Rabbit S and the sport truck are the only rabbits that got the large single-piece duckbill, and the Rabbit S was only offered in Europe, I believe. So in the US, the Sport Truck's the only thing that got the single piece duckbill. I don't have the stock wheels on anymore. They are a bit different than your usual Steely and hubcap, but it's basically a Steely with a center cap and then an outer beauty ring, I believe. I forget. They're very basic looking. They called them sport wheels, but they called them sport wheels, but they were just some real basic Steely looking hubcap beauty ring setup. Not sporty by today's standards at all. That's pretty much it for the exterior. You know, this is a factory bumper. Probably was ordered with my truck. This is a factory option bumper. As far as I know, this came original to my truck. So that's another thing that shows you these sport trucks kind of came however you wanted them built. Some came with AC, some didn't. It's really just an add-on package. So now for the interior, the dead giveaways for these, if you're not sure, you know, if you have one that's missing a decal you suspect is a sport truck, these red trimmed door cards, and they are also supposed to have the mat pockets down here. You can see the stitching. Somebody ripped that off and put these stupid speakers in, and I just kind of left them in because otherwise there's big holes. So aside from the door cards, we've also got the red trimmed center bezel. Mine's a little faded, so it's hard to see, but the 83, 84 GTIs ended up getting the same red trim bezel, as well as the red trimmed triple gauge down in the center. Those factory came with a clock, a voltmeter, and oil temp. I still have the voltage. I ditched the clock. I got oil pressure, oil temp. Much more important than a clock, in my opinion. And the reason why they got a clock down there was because the sport trucks also got a tachometer instead of a clock. Most rabbits, they really just got a clock instead of a tachometer. I swapped my cluster out with a GTI cluster. The cluster that came in my truck was a 100 mile an hour gauge, and I swapped it out for a 120 mile an hour gauge. But otherwise it all looks the same. You know, you got your tach, speedometer, and pretty much the same stuff in the center. I don't have the stock seats anymore, obviously, but if you look at most rabbits, you'll see the stitching on the leather seats, or pleather, whatever you want to call it, vinyl. We'll call it pleather. The stitching on most Mark 1 rabbit pleather seats goes horizontal, and the sport truck got a vertical, which is not something you notice right away unless you've seen it before. To the unsuspecting eye, it just looks like some weird one-off, but to those who know what they are, it jumps right out at you. Vertical stitching down the pleather seats, but they would match the color of your interior. So if you had black or peanut butter, you'd have black or peanut butter seats. The steering wheel, this obviously isn't the factory steering wheel anymore. Same thing, the steering wheel would match the color of your interior. Now the style of steering wheel is the same as that Scirocco steering wheel, the classic three spoke. I'll include a picture of it, but you guys have seen them plenty of times. It's the Scirocco steering wheel, but the big difference is that if you had a peanut butter truck or a brown interior truck, that's the same color as the steering wheel. So unless somebody special ordered it, it most likely came out of a sport truck. If you see one of those light peanut butter Scirocco wheels, it seems like back in the day Volkswagen was pretty lenient with custom ordering stuff how you wanted it. You know, some people, we've seen them before. We saw one last year, a decal remove order, just said decal remove or something along those lines on the build sheet, and the guy had everything else was sport truck on the truck. It just had no decal. So it seems like, you know, it might have been left over on the lot. The guy saw the truck, he loved it. They were going to give him a good deal on it, and he wanted the decal removed or whatever it was. You know, you kind of see these built all sorts of different ways or surviving different ways. So in terms of the suspension, people always ask, you know, the suspension's different on it or the brakes are different on it. Nope. Everything's pretty much just cosmetic. The only quote-unquote performance things the sport truck got would be the 5-speed and the 1.7 motor. I believe you could order the 1.7 with just about anything, but you know, when you ordered the Sport Truck package, that was basically what you were getting. So the Sport Truck package was just like most packages you could get on a car today. Like the GLI is this set of things. The Sport Truck was the decals on the outside, the side, and the hood, the wheels, the interior, which included the seats, the steering wheel, the dash bezel, the cluster, the triple gauge down low. In terms of the transmission and engine, 1.7 and a 5-speed. It's just like any other car package you get today, except it just wasn't all that much sportier. By the standards of that day and age, it was sporty because of the 5-speed, the tachometer, and the engine was a bit better than what your run-of-the-mill Rabbit was getting. I think you could get that same 1.7 motor in whatever you wanted, but just part of this package was the 1.7 and the 5-speed. It was a long ratio 5-speed. I don't think they really had a short ratio at that point yet. You know, the GTI was the first thing to get a short ratio transmission, you know, in the sporty sense. Most of the literature you find and most of the pictures from the dealer that you find are of the 81s. These did come early Westy front end 1980 trucks too, and those trucks are even a bit more odd because some of them came with 4 speeds, some of them came with 5 speeds. Those are even more all over the place. If you want to read more about it, you just Google Volkswagen Sport Truck. It'll pop right up. You'll see some cool literature, some cool pictures from the dealer. You can read it all there, but figured it wouldn't hurt to make a quick video about it, so to show you guys in the flesh, point things out to you. Unfortunately, I didn't get my truck with the stock seats. I didn't get it with the stock steering wheel. So I wasn't really going to revert it back because my goal with this truck was to make it what it would be if they made it by today's standards. I gotta get the duckbill back on because it looks like it's got an underbite without it. So that's that. I hope that helps clear some things up for you guys. Well, I still have to edit it, but keep an eye out for it. I went up to Tom Clark's house, aka Built, a couple months ago, and Blair Peterman towed his truck up there and filmed most of the process of Tom getting a new set installed on Blair's truck. For almost a year now, they've been working on remaking these decals. We did run into some difficulties with the cutting machine at that time, so the video didn't actually get fully finished, so I was in no rush to edit it. But just last weekend, or this past weekend, Tom and Blair finished the truck. They got the rest of the decals on, but now that they're done and that truck is finished, I am motivated and have a reason to get that video posted up for you guys. That was pretty cool. You guys will see how much work and effort went into making them, because at first glance it seems like a simple thing to recreate, but once you start taking into account the little points, reference points that all have to match up, and then the pinstriping that connects as one, is all one big piece front to back, you know, it proved to be a lot trickier than you would first think. The other videos I'm working on, so I got this one that's should be up now, decal design and install for the new Sport Truck decals. I also want to do another video similar to this, but just on Rabbits in general, kind of like a beginner's guide, crash course, what to look for when you're buying them, what you should know before buying one, the subtle differences between the generations, because there's more or less 4 main different generations, even though they're all Mark 1s. Break down the differences, and maybe, you know, who knows, we'll see. But basically a beginner's guide to Mark 1 Rabbits. That's going to be another video. And then also an update on the Safari window, my thoughts on it after owning it for a couple weeks, using it, pros and cons. So that'll also be a quick video. And then I want to take apart the torture test motor. I'll film that. There are a few cars I'm trying to film and cover, get some stories from those people, get stories on the cars and the owners, do some fancy shots of those cars too. Basically, plenty of stuff coming. It's just a matter of having the time to do it. Doing that madness video that took a few weeks to edit. I put about 20 hours into sorting and editing that footage, so that took up a lot of time. I'm gonna try to you know, keep momentum, try and get you guys some content slapped together. So don't go far. Leave a comment below of what you'd like to see next, because like I said, I have a whole bunch of stuff lined up. If there's something I didn't mention that you guys want to see, please let me know.